Hi, and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Thursday, January 27th, 2022, and the topic for the day is called Cosmic Fire. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening January 12th through the 14th, 2022, and this is show number 144. And before we get into the sky observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, how, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, sien dobre, konnichiwa, dobro honya, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dobry den, aloha winala, kalimera, hurenda, and good day. Now today's starter image is once again a Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day page combined with the greetings from around the world. And I was motivated or otherwise guided to pull a card from the Sacred Forest Oracle deck by last names Linn and Breidenthal. And I also was moved to put in this Ferro rod and striker plate and some Goldstone and lava in the scene just to go with our fire theme. Now at the top I've got Fire Spirit Energy, that's what the card says at the top, and I'm adding in there being a Cosmic Firestarter in a very good and positive sense. So I'm going to go all over the place probably a little bit with like 3D grounded messages and going off into 5D and more spiritual senses. So just if you can hang in there with me, I've got kind of notes all over the place, but I just jotted down what came to mind when I put the scene together. So the Ferro Rod and the Firestarter and Striker are great for the 3D realm for outdoor survival. You could throw it in a river and it still sparks a fire afterward. It can be worn around your neck, your wrist, or on a bag. You could even wear it on yourself, all the time if you wanted to. I think this is a 3-inch version. I think there's one that's even 2 inches or shorter. And then, of course, they get into much longer lengths depending on what you're looking for. I think this happens to be the 3-inch variety. So anyway, we're also looking at this overall card. We've got the number 17. And as I always point you guys over to, guys and girls and everybody, I point you over to, if you just do an internet search, you can put in angel numbers, Joanne Sacred Scribes. You can also just put Joanne Sacred Scribes or angel numbers Joanne, and I think this pops up. It's a wonderful blog site, Australian site. And she shows all of the positive numbers, really, of any number you want. So you just put angel numbers or Joanne Sacred Scribes, and then you just put the number that you're interested in. You may be noticing repeating numbers going on in your life, like 1111 or 555 or 444, 222, whatever it is. It could be, 258, whatever. I just threw that out of my head. Whatever it is, type it in, and you'll get some nice explanations or, interpretations on the positive aspects of these numbers. So in the case of 17, there's quite a long paragraph on it. I just pulled an excerpt from her site, and it just says, it embodies the new with manifesting good fortune. Remember to be grateful for all the universe provides. Okay, so that's enough on that number. Now, you can also reduce this down instead of 17 also to a number 8 if you wish. So you might want to look up 17 and also 8. All right, now spiritual fire in the palms of your hands. So if you look at the card, she's holding this great fire. And I just want to note that it's balanced the way she's holding this. So, and that's a good thing, to be balanced in what you are giving and what you receive. So depending on what your dominant hand is, the typical thing is that, spiritually speaking, usually you receive with your left hand and you give with your right. As that's also how you take in energy. You receive in one way and give it out in another. So anyway, in this depiction, she's really comfortably holding these in balance, and she's not discharging it or diminishing it in either way. And she's also standing firmly rooted in the ground, but also connected up with the heavens or the skies. She's like actually representing almost a conductor, which is down here. This Goldstone is comprised of glass and copper bits, and we all know copper is a great conductor. And also, just that takes me further into, as she's standing here, that she can also, with this lightning coming in, it can ignite fire, and she can become this embodiment of depiction of transmuting energies and even converting, wood to smoke as it catches on fire. And then also just when I was speaking of the copper and the Goldstone being made of copper and glass, just reminds me that glass can form when lightning hits sand, and it forms into chunks called fulgurites. So that's a little wandering all over there, but it's just, again, whatever's coming through my mind at the moment on this. Now, the greatest of fires in the 3D realm, they can be started with a mighty lightning bolt or a tiny ember, the very smallest spark. Can be started by nature or by humankind, obviously, or even other dark forces or entities, that get them started via directed energy weapons and working through other people, actually in a very not nice way, let's just say. Some fires start accidentally, in quotes, by negligence, or some start intentionally, artificially by their means with malintent. Others start intentionally, naturally, with good intent to allow for forest regeneration. And then there's going beyond the 3D and the infinite sacred fire that is you, the fire within. And you are actually the star, a cosmic fire starter, and that's beheld by worlds each time you simply flash a loving, good-spirited smile. So that's my little excerpt for the day, message of the day. I hope you find something good in there that helps guide you on your way for today or for the week or whenever you need it. All right, now, actually, I'm going to hop back a second. There's more I could say about this card, but really, it's really beautiful the more that you look at it. But I love the way, things are moving down, and her dress is even transforming into the trunk of a tree. And that just, further emphasizes the point of how all of us, are connected in with the earth. And, when you talk about the forests and the networks of the roots and the trees and the mycelium, I think it is, we just get into on so many levels, how connected we really all are between, the earth and the skies above. All right, so let's get into the show, to the sky observations. Here we go. We are going to start off with the 12th of January. I'm still trying to catch up. In this show, we only make it to the 14th. I've had to actually not look up at the skies for about a week so I don't get too backlogged. I've just been kind of only taking pictures of the things that really stand out, and it's hard to not catalog everything. But until I get caught up again, that's where it's going to have to sit for a bit. So anyway, let's see what we've got this time around. So whether you're new or returning to this channel, I give a heartfelt thanks out to all of you for being here. If you are new, I'm going to give you a quick intro of what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it. If you're returning, you may want to just skip this bit for the next couple minutes. All right, so if you're new, what I do is I'm just going around and observing my skies wherever I happen to be. Mostly it's over the skies of Miami, but wherever I travel, wherever I go, I take note, and there's always something in the skies. I just want to say wherever I go, and also wherever anybody else I know goes, because I've had friends and kind viewers of the channel send in photos to see if I see anything, and you can see something all over the world, so it doesn't even matter where you are. And then also, if you look at other Earth and Sky watching channels, which I highly recommend you do on YouTube, you're going to see things all over the world with people just like you or myself going out and observing things, taking pictures and finding all sorts of things. Now, what I do is I take the photos, which I say original photo, and then I do an enhancement on it. So when I do that, it simply means I've taken the photo and I've just edited the attributes of it, such as contrast, brightness, and color saturation, maybe color temperature, and that is it. And I just up and lower the levels a little bit. And I just throw these letters in just to help me keep focused and try to make sure I don't lose sight of any of the major points while I'm narrating this. But here's a quick example of running an enhancement on it. So again, upping and lowering levels of the contrast, the brightness, color saturation, things of that nature. And a whole new world of information pops out when we do this. And it's doing that because the camera phones, this is just taken on a really old Android camera, is what I do, camera phone. That these devices have such a vaster range of photo and color sensitivity, light sensitivity, that we're able to pick this stuff out, the skies. So we make it an inkling that something's going on, but we really see it when we run in some enhancement on it. All that to say, as I'm looking up, as you'll see down here, most of the slides are called strange cloud, in quotes, activity. That means I'm suspecting cloaking craft. When I say cloaking craft, I'm referring to, yes, things of ET origin or supernatural origin even. More than likely. I don't really think I've come across any that are kind of human and military collaborations. That's not to say I haven't, but just usually the scale of some of these things and the intricacy on the way they cloak just seems to far surpass anything that we could have on this planet. That's why I'm saying more than likely it's ET crafted. So when I say cloak, the cloaking material I'm referring to is going to be my go-to word. It's going to be plasma, just meaning something heavier and denser than water vapor that clings in the air a long time and does a great job at clinging to things and cloaking them. Could it be something else? Sure, but that's just going to be what I go to for now until something else can be, in my hand proven of what the heck it is. Also, I'm going to direct you to look at just different motions of things. Like if we have something going very vertical or very horizontal in the same scene, that's not going to be typical cloud activity, so that tips me off too that there's got to be some tech involved. Also, we're going to be looking at color signatures, and whenever we see something that's red and pink, I'm directing you to take a look at the description box below at what could be causing that. And there are a lot of possibilities there. And you may even find and discover some of your own. So that's all I'm going to say for now. There's a lot more I'd like to say, but I think you'll get the gist as I keep moving through the show. And I invite you also to look at any of my previous shows that go into more detail on this if you want to find out more. All right, so now we're just looking at the northwest toward the sunset hours. And I just noticed this strange activity. As I mentioned, we've got something very vertical. At the same time, we've got stuff moving along slightly more horizontal. It just seemed like a lot of strange activity going on in here. Also, the consistency of the clouds, quote-unquote clouds, seemed a little artificial and maybe even supernatural with some of these more wisp-like things. So we look at it with some enhancement, and it was very telling here what's going on with these warm signatures that are only happening in these different areas. Now, keep in mind, we're looking to the northwest. So actual sunset is like occurring over behind this where this tree is, and we see that's really white. So how are we getting this burst and flare up of all this color if direct sunset is yielding something like this? Now, I do cover the whole concept of an artificial sun or solar simulator on previous shows. Other people cover it really well on YouTube as well, other Earth and Sky watching channels. So I'm just going to direct you to look at any previous shows where I touch on it or the other channels as well. Looks like we have a little object cloaking down here too. I'm going to move on for now. I'm going to let you, not let you, but I invite you to have a look here more on your own time and see what you can see, because right away I see something really strange, like this looks like a craft or some kind of instrumentation going vertical, springing up out of this quote-unquote cloud activity. And then we have another little thing here too that looks like it's bursting up out of here. So I'm going to call that cloaking objects. Now that could be actually craft that something is either occupying it and maneuvering it, or it could be some type of remote control operation. It could be also just instruments or something. So I'm not sure about that part, but I can tell you these are very artificial looking, coming up straight up, bursting out of this cloud, when again, if there were wind this day, it would just be steady and gentle moving across in this very subtropical to tropical climate, and in no way, shape, or form would we have a cloud assembly and then just have stuff bursting out of it in different directions. So I'm calling this cloaking craft is involved here, but we'll move along because there'll be better examples coming up in the show of different things, different elements. But we're going to just zoom in on that cloud assembly at a couple of the parts happening at the bottom. Actually, I'm going to go back up one. So we're going to look at this down here and some of the stuff happening below, just to see if we can get at what else is going on in here. See if we can get any more clues of the activity. And really, I don't so much, other than this is looking very interesting. This looks like it has structure to it, like man-made, not man-made, but advanced tech and intelligent design to it somehow. And then down here too at 8.1, it looks like we have a disc, like a wheel, and almost like an axle coming out of it, if you see what I'm seeing. Up here too, it looks like there's a little something solid hiding in this little overall quote-unquote cloud. And what's also very strange is we've got D.1 is coming down on an angle, and at C.1 is coming up at a different angle. So again, that tells me when we've got cross angles moving in here, we're dealing with artificial means, things happening in an artificial way in the cloud system there. So now we're going to look to the southeast, and then we see a little bit of choppy and fuzziness, which I call staccato cloud effect, when everything else is in clear view, but we get some like blur out, haze out choppiness in the local atmosphere. But here looking at this, not only do I kind of see a triangular form hanging out here, I also noticed down here, it's just something seemed really odd. We've got a really straight line on that supposed cloud happening there. And we get something strange happening here color-wise. So we're going to zoom in on each of those areas. But before we do, we'll look at the overall scene with some enhancement. And again, we got weird like cylindrical things, standalone shapes popping out. And again, this is looking really odd back in here and here as well. We also have color signature erupting here. This, red pink stuff is only happening here and nowhere else. So that's really odd. We got some weird, straight lines coming down here like tubular forms. So we're going to look at this a little more closely. So on that lower left, so we're going to go over here where my cursor is. We're going to zoom in and look at, we've got a straight line more or less. Looks like the bottom of a triangular form. And then look at this standalone little shape. So there's a lot that looks like an indentation or a hole here. And another triangular form stacked up here. So there's enough strangeness. And look at lowercase bb. If you follow my cursor, there's a straight line and another straight line and another one down here. So we've got some type of trapezoidal or some kind of, rectilinear form. And, it's very precise. So again, we're talking, we've got some intelligent design happening up in here that wouldn't happen in natural cloud system. So then we're going to zoom in on that other element, and this one struck me odd just because we have this burst of white, and all the background is more muted and different colors, and so what's that about? We wouldn't have a standalone bright white element if it weren't some type of craft or something cloaking in there. But see what you see. At BB.2, this is starting to look like, it's got very straight edges on the sides. So it's got some geometric and symmetrical form. So I'm going to call that a cloaking craft or cloaking element on a craft. Anyway, see what you find in here. This is the type of thing where the more you look, the more you're going to find. Like this is starting to look spherical, like something's hiding in there, like a little vapor trail coming in behind it. But see what you see. Hang on one second. Okay, I'm back. So now this one was really odd. The left is the original, the right-hand side is the enhanced version. So started to see this, like, it looks pretty symmetrical. These peaks, on either side, looks like, they're bridged and come to the center point here, like they're holding something, almost like the top of a ring with the prongs, holding a gem in there. And then we have something piggybacking on the side here with all these little white points. Something weird is kind of, I don't know, coming or going on this backside. So there's a lot of high strangeness going on in this photo. We're going to zoom in. It's a little grainy because it was the quality, with all the particulate in the air and just whatever my camera can do when things start to go dim in the sky, it doesn't do the best. But we still see enough. So 8.2 up here, we've got, some kind of other activity happening in there, also with that red-pink signature. And just the shape of this thing looks a little spherical. But again, look at this now. This looks like something piggybacking on the side of this thing, or it's attached and these are the lights, or I don't know, other little elements sticking out. I still don't know what's going on up here. It looks like something phasing in and out of state. Then we've got, again, this element, and then this is looking diamond shape if you follow my cursor, that darker object in behind the cloaking material. And then if we look at the center, now this is a whole different animal altogether because now it has a different color signature. It's like brown, like muddy brown looking. And then this thing, I don't know if this is part of this shape popping out through this like rim, or if this is a standalone separate object. It's really hard to tell what's going on in here, at least for me. But the way this is coming down to a point and is interconnected tells me this whole thing is something of intelligent design. See what you think it is. Okay, now we're going to look off to the north-northeast, again towards sunset, and this pattern was coming out really strange. So we have things moving vertically up and then moving around like in an arc and then leveling out flat. And so we see it much better with enhancement. So 8.1 looks like a standalone craft that just bolted, like jettisoned up out of this thing with this trajectory on a curve. And then look at these distinct elements. These are not natural cloud forms, no way. And then when you look at the base, they're doing something else. And then, we've got other weird movements. So I'm going to say this whole scene is riddled with cloaking craft. See what you can find in there with a little more time on your own time. Then we're going to get to a more exaggerated enhancement on it. And we see, look at these two parallel standalone shapes. These little spiky things also parallel, look like identical pointed elliptical shapes. So again, I'm going to call it as something is going on in here and sending things out in a radial pattern, which would not be natural cloud formations of any type. Then we look over here and we see like a greenish, kind of hue, all different color signatures. And again, we're looking north-northeast at sunset. This is nothing that should be in this color range to the north-northeast at this time of day. So it's all very odd. Now I've taken all color out just to help us look at stuff in a different way with black and white and grayscale. And things start to look pretty interesting. I don't think I've got any more answers, probably more questions, but see what you find in this scene as well. Okay, now we're going to move to the west-southwest towards sunset, and we start to see little chemtrailers out and about, but also what's really strange is we've got triangular form, triangular form, triangular form. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to zoom in on each part eventually. But look at the bigger picture. Look what's happening here at supposed sunset at 8.1. We've got white and gold, and then we get this red-pink stuff. So it looks like we've got an artificial sun activity that's like masking some red-pink body, emerging like behind it. Again, look at the description box below to see what that could be, that phenomenon. And then, we see something darker being cloaked at D.1. C.1, look at this. Look how straight these lines are. And then we have like these sticks, these perfect symmetrical sticks popping out at the top. and something happening down here. So I'm calling that a craft, no question. Another triangular form here, something happening here. So I'm going to say this is a cluster of craft activity happening there. And we're going to isolate just this triangular piece and this neighbor with it, companionship or whatever that is. And look at C.3. Look at this. This has intelligent design to it. We've got like these little things protruding out. They almost look like eyes. But, definitely that's reflects some intelligent design happening. And up here, too, we have something like emerging, something peeking out through this this cloaking material in 3D coming toward us. So see what you find in there. We're going to zoom in one more time so you can see these elements. See, we've got a perfect curve here, almost like the end of a pipe. And we've got a round form here. It's just too precise just to be haphazard cloud with sharp edges. And then up here, again, we got that protrusion. It looks like a pipe-like element. And we see even like a reflection at the top to show that it's like busting through whatever this is. Now this does almost look like a face. It looks like the top of a head and two eyes and nose and something. I wouldn't put it past some of these things. These look very organic, like they could be faces. There can be some craft that emulate organic things, bioorganisms, or they could be organisms themselves. In this case, I'm just going to go with a gut level feeling. I think they're craft. And then here we have something that looks like it's emerging out of here. This looks like a standalone craft in its own right. Again, it's symmetrical, almost like a very pointy lemon, zooming out in this direction. But see what you can find. There's also a rectangular form here. It also could be triangular, depending on how you look at it. See what you see. All right, now we're going to look at this little portion toward the southwest. And again, look how these are. They're like disintegrated, not well held together. They don't even look like real clouds. These look completely artificial. And that's why I'm going to say it's cloaking material over these things. We see something vaguely off in the distance at A. So we look to the right at the enhanced version and look at 8.1. This looks like a top of a craft. Like this is the bow, and that would be the stern, and that would be a little cockpit or whatever this thing is. That's what I see. But then we also look at B.1, and we've got a darker mass here, cloaking material around it, little machine parts popping up out of it. Same thing over here at C.1. But what the heck is this? Look at this shape. It's not a natural cloud, regardless. All right, now this gets really interesting looking south-southwest, and again toward the evening. And actually, yeah, look at this. Darker form started to emerge, and then we have a darker, like triangular form with rounded corners kind of on angle. And this seemed kind of cohesive, like it belonged to, one thing or two elements kind of forming one shape. Anyway, it was worth putting enhancement on it, and here we go. We still see this very rigid shape. Look at these sharp lines forming the contour of this thing. Looks like we have a pure hole or circular form here at the end or the front, whatever this thing is. So I'm going to say that this overall thing is a craft with something, in the front and the foreground, another craft. And probably this is an overall craft or two different ones, maybe another one off here in the back in the distance. We zoom in and put some more enhancement on it. And again, look at this perfect line, very hard edge, and too perfect just to be a cloud. So I'm calling this whole thing an object. And with something else, object, behind it. So see what you see in that scene. All right, now we're looking to the north, and this got really interesting. This overall thing started to form what looked like a craft on its own right, kind of pointed elliptical form. But then we had weird things happening all within it, around it, and above it. And something going vertical, this going on an angle, all highly strange. So with enhancement, we can see why. This still looks like a pretty sharp curved edge happening along here to tell me this has got to be some type of craft or multiple crafts in here. And what's this doing? It's forming a shape, kind of an overall bigger triangular shape. But things like moving off of it, then we've got curves over here. Just this whole scene is really bizarre. We're going to look at it over time, a few minutes later, and then again we'll look at it in another few minutes. So what gets weird is that overall curve form we start to see things springing off, like things jetting off of it in different directions. So we look at it with enhancement. You can see at E and D, these little things are springing off out of here. And then this looks like a hole or a circular form with these little ripple arcs, concentric circles, coming up out of there, out of this thing. And then look at this is doing its own thing. It's almost like a stingray shape or kite shape. Something else is happening here. This is actually looking like a huge sphere. And I have a feeling that this is all kind of smoke and mirrors and a red herring, literally, to take attention away from the fact that it's trying to camouflage that there's a big sphere here on the horizon, which would be, yes, a planetary body coming into the Earth's neighborhood here. And I mentioned that in the description box below. And to see excellent footage on this, take a look at the Final Days YouTube channel. She documents this really well. I'm sending you over for the hard evidence that she shows, which is perfectly explained and demonstrated, mostly by FAA cameras in Alaska and other places, using their footage, and it's so well done. So do look over there. Now, I'm sending you over there for the hard evidence. She does go over her religious points of view. I don't really subscribe to all of those, not that I'm against it, but just it's not my belief. So I'm just sending you over there for the evidence for the sky observations. If the arrest aligns with you, great. If not, just, look at the evidence there. Okay, so we also see some, I see an end of a cylindrical form here and other little oddities all over the place. So we're going to look at this, I think, yet again over time. Again, we're looking at this whole overall assembly, and look what's going on. So we go to the right hand, the enhanced version, and now we see something still going vertically up out of here. So again, that's an impossibility with a cloud system. You're not going to have something kind of moving more or less one way and then something going perpendicular out or in. Then we look at B.5. It starts to be like a flattened egg shape with a hole in it. And it almost looks like this thing flew out of it somehow magically, and there's something moving off that way in the distance. This overall scene is so perplexing. I'm going to move in on that egg-like thing, and you can see what I mean, maybe. Now, hang on one second. Okay, as I've mentioned on other shows, I narrate this on a laptop screen, and that's one scale of information when I'm looking at it. And if I was narrating this by looking at it at a thumbnail size, like on a handheld device, probably my narration would sound totally different for each show. So I always recommend, if you have the luxury of having a laptop and a smaller handheld device, to have them both like in front of each other at the same time while you're watching the show, and kind of toggle your view up and down between the two scales. And you'll see, a lot of different things pop up out at you. So like I always say, there could be something like so in your face obvious that I just missed because I wasn't looking at the other scale. I'm not doing that on purpose. So if I do happen to pass over something that you would have liked me to talk about, just let me know in the description box. The comment section below. All right, so here we've got this egg-shaped thing with this hole, very clear hole there. And it looks like almost like this thing came out of it, or this thing's emerging out of it and going off to the right, upper right. Whatever the case, there is so much different activity happening in this one scene. Also different color signatures. They're all over the place, from indigo to reddish colors, gold, all in the same proximity. So what the heck is going on? That can't be anything natural. So I'm going to say that there's artificial tech and craft all over the place in here. We also get bursts of white while everything else is really dark. What's going on? And also with these dark shapes. See what you see in here. I see cloak and craft all over the place. All right, now this gets really weird. Looking north? No, this is actually looking southwest. Sorry, I did not update this in the little title thing here. We're looking southwest. So this is southwest toward sunset. Now, just what caught my attention, I think it's obvious. You look at this weird shape overall at sea and this little thing in between, and the way these things are kind of coming together or coming apart. These weird fuzzy things happening over here, very blurred, looks like something's coming or going craft-wise. We get a triangular imprint. We got a whole lot of strangeness going on in the scene. So we look at it with some enhancement, and we just really see like what's going on with this thing. And there's even like a piece, like a pipe sticking out. And just look at the high strangeness of this whole thing. It's just really bizarre. So we're going to zoom in just on this area. I can't cover it all. But we see bright reflective points. This thing is standalone shape in between darker areas. All of this is definitely worth, just charging it up with some super enhanced, look at it. So here we go. This whole element looks like gray, with a hole in it, or there's something flying in front of it that's bright white, one or the other. Looks like there's another hole happening over here where my cursor is. So this is just high strangeness. We see this grayish color pick back up over here. So I'm going to say we're looking at cloak and craft, and we're just seeing different parts and pieces literally popping up out of the cloak. And then down here, this is a standalone craft shape. It's symmetrical, comes down to like, it looks like the tip, like the head of an arrow, an elongated arrow. Anyway, see what you find in here. What's really curious is all these different color ranges, once again, happening all in this supposed cloud stuff, which is absolutely artificial looking. All right, then we're going to look over toward the north, away from that one. And actually, this is northwest, northwest. And so, we see this strange thing kind of growing and arcing out, in this direction. We have something mysterious happening at A, which looks like it's catapulting up out of this cloud of supposed cloud mass. This is all artificial. Normal clouds don't do this. And then we look at C and we start to see some triangular points, like a ridge of them, happening along. All very bizarre. When we look at it with some enhancement, we see 8.1 looks like a craft that's just, pushing up out of this mass. We have a brighter white area while everything else is dark, so it tells me we're opening up and looking at some machine parts on this overall thing, which is a cloaking craft hidden in all this stuff. We have a kind of a triangular shape emerging here. Again, very curious how pointy these things are, which would not be a natural cloud system. Something diamond or kite-shaped happening down here. All while this is coming dead level across. So there's no way in a natural cloud system to have something like a pure arc. Look, it's even like bridging to another element over here with a perfect triangular form, perfect line. Also, it looks like this is a craft on its own right. We start to see the top of a deck of it or something. Anyway, very fascinating. We're going to zoom in on this little piece, just as if it weren't enough to look at the previous slide. Zooming in to see these, perfect points, symmetrical angles, that's just not going to happen in a natural cloud. And a perfect kite-shaped form here. Again, look at the color signatures, see what you see in all these scenes, and see what you think. All right, now we're going to look at a panorama looking northwest to northeast. Northwest is to the right, and northeast is to the left. And we look, it just caught my attention, so that means we're kind of looking south here. And it just, the way these were looking radial, these bands of light, just really told me there's something cloaking up in here, especially the staccato cloud effect, as I call it. Just made me think, yeah, we're dealing with a pretty large craft cloaking up in there. So we look at enhancement at the top slide, and we see where the burst of power might be, generating. And I think I forgot to mention the staccato cloud activity. I, suspect that there's cloaking craft or multiples up there that send out electromagnetic wave energy or other types of frequencies to disturb the local, atmosphere. But see what you see in this overall scene. When we look back up at the top scene, I have 8.1 looks like an arrowhead again, plunging down. So I'm going to call that a standalone craft. It's perfectly symmetrical. And then it looks like this is a craft happening back in here too. And actually we have a perfect diamond or rhombus shape over here. So again, I'm going to call it, we've got some kind of cloaking activity. Got this dark, cylindrical thing punching out this way on angle, while these things are splaying at all different angles, all local in the same area. So that's got to mean artificial activity of some type. At C.1, this looks like a giant triangular form as well, an imprint. See what you see, though. We're going to zoom in on that center piece, too. Again, just looking at the energy bursts, just all really bizarre looking. See what you can find in there. Here it is with some enhancement to, pull out where we've got our warm spots or warm tones color-wise. And it's just so odd that we've got red, orange, and gold, and yet greens, teals, blues. This 8.1 looks like a standalone chunk of something. It looks like regularized patterning along the rim of something. So I'm going to call that some type of cloaking craft. This one's really odd. All right, then we're going to look to the northwest, and here we see these bands. Kind of these weird formations, and darker, pieces, beyond. So I thought, we just definitely have to look at this with enhancement on the right-hand side. And here we definitely see some type of almond-shaped object. It almost looks like a coffee bean with like a little dividing line, through the middle, big coffee bean. But yeah, something's obviously going on in here, especially when we look at the color signature, where the warm colors are versus the cool colors. This also looks like a hole back in here on something. So I don't know if we're looking at the end of a pipe going this way. All I can say is it looks like there's one larger craft happening. I think this is all part of one thing. And we might even be dealing with two, and that this is more like interdimensional, like phasing in and out of state, and we've got a more solid craft happening beyond with a blue color. I'm not sure, but this one is perplexing because at C.1 it looks like something's kind of coming in down this way into the scene as well. So it's kind of like this whole hodgepodge and intermingling, I think, of all different kinds of craft. See what you see there, though. All right, now this is just, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just knew something was strange up in the sky here. When you look west and look up, it just felt really odd. And so when we look to the right, we see this kind of pattern, and we see like an incision line happening darker beyond, right in the middle of this thing. I can't tell you what's happening. I'm just saying that's really not natural. Something's happening up in there. Okay, now this one gets pretty direct. I don't think I really have to even narrate almost. Look at B. Do you not see this perfect triangular form and something like an outcropping? It's a darker imprint of a triangle. And there's one happening back over in here too. Just really bizarre. And then we got this weird, consistency that's not natural cloud. We're going to look at this with some enhancement. Gets really interesting. Look at B.1. This is a bigger imprint of a triangle. I don't think there's any other way to look at that. Same thing happening back in here. And then in the foreground, we get weird stuff happening at D.1. This looks like an object, a capsule-like shaped thing. And something happening at A.1 as well. This is one that you could look at for quite a while, though, and see what else you can see. At C.1, this is also looking like a triangular imprint happening back in here. See what you see. Okay, we're just going to look at another angle, literally. It's kind of coming down an angle on the left, and we look to the right, and it looks like one symmetrical form happening on top of another one. So what is this stuff? I'm still not totally clear on what these imprints are. Is it like a hole that they've left in the sky of something that was sitting there, or is that we're looking at the bottom of an object that is sitting there? Either way, it's an artificial object, and I'm going to call it a cloak and craft. All right, then we're going to look at this scene. It gets really bizarre, like these really misty strands moving in all different directions. Again, not natural cloud whatsoever. So we look at the right, and we see an overall imprint of an elongated triangular form. What's coming in front of this and what's going on all around it, I have no idea. But I'm going to say it's artificial tech. Look at this thing. Looks like a tube. I really am at a loss for words on this. So see what you see. Like here I see an imprint of another triangle. It just seems really bizarre. I don't think I've really quite encountered this kind of consistency and the movement like I have in this slide. I haven't seen it on previous shows. All right, this gets really interesting. Looking southeast, I looked up, and just for a moment I saw this very clear, rigid structure, or the top of one peeking out of this cloud formation. So with enhancement, you really see it. Look how clear this is. Now, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I can tell you that's a craft or part of one for sure. Look how precise it is. Look how sharp the edges are, and we've got shadows on it. Really pretty amazing. Here, I think this is also, we're dealing with a piece of or a part of something sticking out, or standalone craft is just a little more blurry. But this one is like crystal clear at B.1 as far as these things go. We also have like weird little things popping up out of this quote-unquote cloud. That's not natural cloud activity happening right there. See what you see, though. We're going to zoom in even tighter on that thing just to see if I can get any more detail out of it, but I don't really get too much more. But what I do get is this looks like a standalone object sitting here at BB, and one back here at BB.1 looks like a symmetrical object, a craft, I would say. And then at BB.2, also, this is not a natural outcropping on a cloud, and we can tell because it's got its own color and energy signature going on. That's not happening down here. Also, here's another one of these weird, I don't know if this piece is part of this overall thing, or if this is a standalone capsule-like thing, like instrumentation or sensor or something, just jumping up out of this, quote-unquote cloud. I'm not sure. See what you see in this whole thing, though. Weird things are happening, too, where this darker, body is, that it's almost looking like, a cylindrical shape in its own right. These are looking like the ends of, like, holes, like 3 holes clumped up together. So there's a lot going on in this scene. See what you see. Also, this burst of gold-white energy is very interesting. Again, this is looking southeast, like at 2 in the afternoon. That really shouldn't be there. All right. Then we're going to look to the northwest, also towards sunset. And this whole thing just started looking really weird because just different elements in there, triangular form, straight, really choppy, disintegrated, loosely held together, mass. This thing is bright and triangular on its own right and symmetrical. Looks like wings on the side, and that would be like the bow of this thing. So we look to the right with enhancement. Look, this thing really jumps out. And it has like a little trail going behind it, so I'm going to call that a cloak and craft. Also up here. And then we just have a lot of weird, high strangeness going on. This triangular form still holds true. Something very rigid and straight happening back in here. But see what you can find in that scene. All right, then we look to the east, and these just look strange. There were standalone, oddball clouds. Again, kind of disintegrated, looking like artificial, artificially put together. With enhancement, we see these bright white points, which are even like crystalline in nature, which show me there's machine parts popping out. Look at this. We have a perfect angle up, level, angle down, and it's a perfectly symmetrical form, and it's got like two projections on it that also look symmetrical. So I'm going to say we're just getting a peek of something coming out of this cloak, and that's a cloaking craft in here as well. We've got a dark triangular form with these little bright points. All right, then we're going to look at this overall scene. Sorry, this isn't east. This is now looking northwest again. But this overall assembly was really weird. We got really dark areas that unnaturally dark for this kind of cloud system. This isn't even a real cloud system. It's going on an angle. It looks very artificial, and to the extent that we've got these straight lines coming down parallel to each other, while we have something else crisscrossing on a totally different angle. Again, that's an impossibility for this altitude and this location. So then we have enhancement to show that there's some kind of object in here at 8.1 for sure. And then again, we've got different consistencies, colors, everything happening down here, something dark in here too. So I'm going to say there's multiple cloaking craft in this thing, or this is one overall giant craft. You know, especially when we get these two parallel prongs or arms coming down. There's something really weird happening in between them too, like it's holding something at B.1. So we're going to zoom in on that B element, look at B.2. What is this thing? You know, what's going on in this overall scene? I don't know. See what you think. This is the prongs at BB and BB.2. Have like a perfect triangular form here. You know, this thing is diving down the opposite direction. You know, see what you see. Kind of a loss on this one. Now we're going to look at 8.2. Is, you know, further up in that cloud where we saw that really dark chunk. I think this is a part of something bigger extending back in that way. Regardless, we see a darker mass with lighter cloaking material wafting in front of it. So I'm not sure exactly what that is. Almost looks like this is the bow of a ship, and it even has something like projecting out. So hard to say, but I would venture to say this whole cloud assembly was showing us one massive craft, and this is the very front part of it. See what you think though. All right, now we're going to look at this really oddball cloud looking east-northeast. And, you know, just looks strange, and to the extent that it had like a triangular form at the top, the fact that it was kind of on its own like this doesn't quite look like natural cloud, you know, made me take a second look and to run enhancement on it. And so, look at, we've got a triangular form here, kind of detached from the rest of this. We have triangular form with something weird happening here. Weird forms all over the place. So we'll keep looking at this with a little more enhancement and zoomed in. Look at 8.2, symmetrical, whatever these stick-like things are. This is a different consistency than the rest of this quote-unquote cloud, which I'm going to call it as for artificial. Again, we got weird stuff happening along here. This is a point. This is a straight line, so we're dealing with a triangular form. So I'm going to say this overall thing is a cloaking craft or multiples. See what you think, though. All right, well, this is the photo of the day and the close of the show. I want to say thanks for sticking around here a while. This is a fallen Y formation twig off of a Lysiloma tree in Miami, Florida. And I just had to laugh when I looked down and I saw it facing this way. It's just one big why. And I think that's a question we are all asking these days. Why? Why are things going on in the global scene the way they're going? And the answer is our overall collective is awakening and ascending, and hopefully, you know, we're looking at all the shadow sides of society so that we can really look at it and then correct it and move forward in a much better way. We as humanity can do so much better, and I think we're discovering that. We're just at the infancy of discovering that probably. But anyway, regardless, I want to say again, thanks for being here, and I wish you tremendous love and peace as always. And also, I was starting recording this on a Thursday. Now it's already Friday. So whatever day, time, it's kind of irrelevant. Just have a gorgeous right now, and know that I'm wishing you all the best. So that's it for now. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.